Okay, so today we're going to be making vegan pepperoni. Full disclaimer, I've never made this before, so we're going to be making up the recipe right now. We're going to be combining tofu, carrots, some spices, and a little bit of flour, and seeing what we come up with. So let's get into it. Okay, we got our pressed tofu, cooked a carrot and let it cool, and now we're gonna throw all of that into a blender. Toss in our carrots, tofu, and now we're just gonna add in a bunch of the spices, starting with garlic powder, some red pepper flakes, smoked paprika, cayenne pepper, tiniest possible amount of anise, just for a little bit of flavor, teaspoon of Dijon, and some liquid smoke. I'm gonna add in a little bit of some olive oil first, and then we'll adjust as needed. Salt, and let's add a little bit of pepper too. Now little by little, we're gonna add water. Basically just blending it down till it's super smooth, and then we're gonna roll it out and make a dough out of it. First, we're gonna add in a little bit of some flour before we add in our tofu carrot mixture, just to make sure it doesn't get super stuck. This mixture will be quite liquidy. So with the dry ingredients, we're gonna thicken it and make some delicious pepperoni. You could also just have this smooth tofu as like a little spread on a sandwich or something. It's really, really good. Tofu mixed with any kind of spices and a vegetable can be safe with pretty much any combination. You could totally try making this with sweet potato, cauliflower even. All right, so I already see it's kind of getting thicker, put a little bit on there until it gets a little thicker, and then we're gonna add 2 more ingredients to this. Alrighty, last 2 ingredients, we're going to be adding in a little bit of some nutritional yeast and a little bit of vital wheat gluten, just to give it a little bit of that meaty texture. All right, and let's keep mixing it up. Okay, so we're gonna let this mixture chill for a little bit, maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we'll come check on it, and that'll be time to bake it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and preheated my oven to 375 and just added in a little bit more of some vital wheat gluten. If you have a stand mixer, just put this on to knead for about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm currently using my stand mixer to make some sourdough pizza dough, so I'm gonna knead it by hand. This will kind of help it have that meaty texture. I'm just making these to go on pizza for dinner tonight, but I mean, you can just make these to eat, or like a little bit of a salami vibe if you want. Basically want to imitate everything that a stand mixer would do with kind of that dough hook, and it should form a nice ball. Perfect. What we're gonna do is we're gonna line this parchment paper with a little bit of olive oil, then put the dough on here and flatten it as best as we can. The more even, the better. I'll use my hands, or you can even use a floured rolling pin. The thinner it is, the faster it will bake in your oven. So these times will vary slightly based on how much you've pressed it down. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit more of some olive oil on top. Just kind of brush it in a little bit. You can use a pastry brush, I just don't feel like washing it. Okay, it looks pretty good. Now we're gonna put it in the oven at 375, and we're gonna check on it every 10 minutes. Okay, our dough is looking great. Now that it's still like a little bit soft, I'm gonna try to roll it out a little bit more to make it thinner, and then we can make our shapes. Okay, so I realized I don't have a circle cookie cutter, so we're gonna be using this little canning funnel because that's the best we got. You can still use all of these scraps for other stuff. I'm just gonna save them for right now and just do perfect little pepperoni circles for today. Also, there was no way I was gonna shape these by hand. Okay, these scraps taste so good. You can honestly save these. They don't look super pretty. You could totally put them on pizza, but they're pretty good. I feel like I'm gonna kind of batter these, maybe like chicken nuggets out of them. They're really good. And the anise is so weird, but it totally adds a little bit of that pepperoni flavor. Just trust me on it. The good thing about these two is, yes, it's a little bit of a longer recipe, but you can totally meal prep these and put them in the freezer. That way you can have some later. Okay, next step, we have to make that kind of pepperoni glaze. So let's get into it. We're gonna combine a little bit of some maple syrup, olive oil, smoked paprika, salt, toss that little piece of anise in there. And this part is optional, but you can add in either some hot sauce or some liquid smoke. I'm adding in some chipotle hot sauce. It is literally one of my favorites. If you haven't tried this, go get it. It's not too spicy, it's perfect. Once you have a good consistency, we're gonna add in a little bit of some soy sauce and then whisk that together again. Put them in this little square container and just try to make them as flat as possible so that when I put the little marinade on top of them, it's pretty evenly cooked. I'm only using the circles that I made. There's still so much left over that I probably have like double this amount, but I want them to look aesthetic on my pizza. Stir them until they're evenly coated. Now I want mine to be a little bit herby, so I'm just gonna toss in a few of my favorite herbs. Do a little bit of some thyme, a little bit of parsley, a little bit of sage, a little bit of oregano, a little bit of basil, and lastly, a little bit of some rosemary. I'm a huge fan of the Beyond Meat sausages because I love just how savory and herby they are. So let's try to imitate a little bit of that taste with our the juices have kind of been soaked up from the marinade, we're gonna just bake them one more time until they're kind of sizzly and a little bit sticky on the outside, and then you're free to put them on your pizza. I'm just gonna make sure that they're aligned in a single file, and I'm gonna flip them halfway through. Taste test. Carl, what do you think? Pepperoni tasty?
A little, huh?
Nice and herby, savory. Kind of remind you of Beyond Meat.
Do I have to see it?
No.